Hi, everybody. My name is Anjali de Abreu Kisunsin. I'm responsible for the environment statistics, and I work at the Scientific Research and Planning Division of the General Bureau of Statistics. Today, we're going to talk about the Environment and Climate Change Statistics Compendium of Suriname. These are the different areas we're going to talk about. The contents, we're going to talk about the compendium, what were the triggers, what were the advantages, challenges, etc. About the compendium. In December 2022, the GBS plans to launch Suriname's first climate change statistics report using the global set of the climate change statistics and indicators as the underlying statistical framework. The data for the five Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also known as the IPCC areas, is collected from the Environment Statistics Compendium. This year, Suriname will launch their 10th compendium. It's also available on our website. And we also use various climate change statistics reports that the government of Suriname submitted to the UNFCCC. There are five different areas in the IPCC area. You have the drivers. For instance, some indicators that are in the drivers area are greenhouse gas emissions. You have the impacts. There you have indicators regarding natural disasters. You have vulnerability. There we look at indicators or topics about, for instance, food security, drinking water, electricity, poverty, etc. We also have mitigation. We look there at indicators regarding the greenhouse gas removals, increase of forest area, etc. And then you have the adaptation. There you have indicators regarding climate change plans. Does your country have early warning systems, protected areas, etc. On this slide, um, I will present to you a figure of the various climate change submissions that Suriname submitted to the UNFCCC between 2005 and 2022. For instance, in the first national communication on climate change in 2005, and the second national communication was submitted in 2016. Here, there was data available for greenhouse gases for the years 2003 and 2008. There will be a third national communication available in December 2022 that will contain data about the years 2000 and 2017. Suriname had also submitted a national determined contribution and also a national adaptation plan. What were the triggers for Suriname for developing their own climate change statistical compendium? Since 2020, the GBS contributed to the global set of climate change statistics and indicators. We participated in the 2021 global consultation and actively participated in meetings of the Expert Group on Environment Statistics, also known as the EGES. The GBS also participated in various climate change and disaster meetings in the past few years. And one of the major triggers for us is that two countries, Jamaica and Tanzania, published their first climate change compendium. And because some of the data is already published in our environment statistics compendia, the GBS is triggered to also publish a climate change compendium. On the next slide, you will see some of the indicators that we already have available. On this slide, I looked at the linkages between the FDS, the SDGs, and the Global Set Framework and our Environment Compendium. Circa 48.7% data we now have available. And I must note that for some of the indicators, we use proxy indicators. The collaboration between the NSO and stakeholders. It is very important for the NSO to have a good collaboration between the NSO and the Ministry of Environment in your country, and of course with other relevant environment stakeholders. The NSO also needs to know what conventions your country ratified and what other climate change related conventions or reports are being submitted. Because I know that at the NSO, we are mostly focused on the data part, but you need to also know what policy, what climate change policy is out there and to make the link. Uh, It's also very important to participate in environment statistics and climate change workshops and meetings. It could be either virtual or physical. In Suriname, for instance, the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment and also other ministries, they invite us to a lot of workshops regarding, for instance, the national communication or forest cover, etc. This helps to better understand the policy part of the climate change and the importance of data for a country to make better analysis. Um, there also needs to be collaboration between the NSO and international organizations in your country. For instance, the UNDP. I know that the UNDP, they have the Green Climate Fund and also the Global Environment Facilities. In Suriname's case, one of the advantages that we have is that every 2 years, an environment statistics workshop is held where environment stakeholders are invited to provide feedback on the Zero Draft Environment Compendium. And this is organized by the GBS in collaboration with the UNDP. During the working group sessions, the stakeholders validate the data, provide feedback, but also provide us with contact information of other stakeholders that we as the NSO did not know about that could also contribute to the compendium. Another advantage of having a workshop is that these participants get familiar with the indicators and statistics that are needed from important frameworks like the framework of the development of environment statistics, we also know known as the FDES, the Sustainable Development Goals, the CARICOM core set, and this year, when we will have our workshop, I think maybe in July or August, the GBS will introduce the climate change statistics and indicators from the global set. And note the workshop, the launch, and the complementary copies of the compendia are fully funded by the UNDP since 2014. I'm going to talk now a little bit about some selected stakeholders that are important to contact for this compendium. The Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment in Suriname, in your case, maybe the Ministry of Environment, they are mostly the one responsible for climate change reporting to the UNFCCC, implementing action plans from these reports, drafting environment and climate change related texts, and promoting climate change awareness programs. The Ministry of Land Policy and Forest Management and the Forest Management and Production Control. In Suriname, they are responsible for anything that has to do with our forest. And there are a lot of indicators regarding forest cover, deforestation, etc. So please contact that ministry. Also contact the Ministry of Agriculture in your country because there are some indicators where we would like about land use, about the production of livestock, the production of agriculture. So please contact them for the information. And of course, this ministry also collects information about the AFOLO sector. AFOLO is agriculture and land use sector. It's a very important sector for the greenhouse gas emissions. You of course also need to contact the Ministry of Natural Resources when you need information about the energy sector and also water statistics information. The Ministry of Public Works, they are the ones in Suriname responsible for waste statistics, so they are also very important. Other important stakeholders are the Meteorological Service for climate and hydrological statistics. When we think about precipitation and temperature, of course, the National Coordination Disaster Relief is in our case they are responsible for all the natural disaster information. And if there is any other GIS data, it could be either international data or another ministry that is responsible for sea level rise, land use and land cover maps, deforestation maps. This institution would also be very important. And some other stakeholders you might contact are, for instance, the energy company in your country, the water company in Suriname, the state oil company is important because we have a lot of oil. The Central Bank of Suriname, the fire department. Make sure to also contact the university and try to gather all related environmental books, climate change books, report studies that are available. And if there are surveys, for instance, census and mix, also try to see if you could get some information out of these surveys and censuses. What are the advantages and strengths? Since 2020, because of the demand for climate change statistics and the link with climate change policies, the GBS intensified the already good collaboration between the environment climate change stakeholders, especially with the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment. In 2020, like I mentioned before, the UNDP continued supporting the GBS through funding. For instance, they are paying for the workshop, the launch, the hardware, and the software. They even paid for our Zoom license, which will help with the data collection process and strengthening the collaboration between the GBS and the stakeholders. Suriname is also a member of the expert group on environment statistics, the CARICOM Technical Working Group on Environment Statistics, and the CARICOM Technical Working Group on SDGs. And of course, we get a lot of technical assistance and training received through participation in various national and regional I think about CARICOM and ICLAC, and international like the UNSD, the UNFCCC, FAO, etc., regarding climate change and disasters workshops and meetings. Now we're going to talk about challenges. You always have challenges. And of course, since March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and that is until today still a big challenge. The GBS relies a lot on administrative data, which can result in lower data quality or even no data for some years due to staff turnover. The statistical capacity at the government needs to be enhanced, increased through more training, especially in the metadata to better understand the climate change and the SDG indicators and to be able to calculate the indicator themselves. Data collection is very time consuming. Stakeholders need to be reminded constantly via email, phone, or even through personal visits. This got even worse with COVID-19, so it's a little bit hectic now. Some of the national data is not processed in the required format or is not disaggregated or is out of date. And there's lack of data by gender and district. And of course, due to the lack of financial and human resources, some specialized surveys cannot be conducted. Now we're going to talk about the contribution of the compendium to the climate change policies. This compendium will provide data that is needed for the calculation of greenhouse gas emissions and other main indicators that are required for the UNFCCC submissions. An example in Suriname, for the third national communication, the GBS provided a lot of administrative data on the following topics to the consultants responsible for this report. We provided energy statistics, agriculture, animal husbandry and fishery statistics, forestry statistics, waste statistics, but also a lot of demographic data like population data, urban population data, and also some economic data, for instance, the GDP information and CPI information. What are the lessons learned? Quality and the availability of data is the most critical issue. Human, technical, and financial resources are scarce. Climate change should be a priority issue for the government, otherwise, reporting will remain as ad hoc actions. And there is need for more technical capacity, training in the metadata and data collection process for the climate change indicators from the global set and for the climate change related SDGs and UNFC submissions. Sorry for that. Some recommendation. Please start publishing a small set of indicators, even if it would just be two or three indicators per IPCC area. And this could be either in environment statistics or in a climate change companion, where you can use the framework, the FDES framework, you can use the SDG framework, or you could use the global set of climate change statistics and indicators. If needed, ask for technical assistance if this is for data collection or metadata training from international organizations. Like mentioned before, you can contact the UNSD, you can contact ECLAC, you can contact CARICOM to better understand the global set on climate change statistics and indicators. Try to collaborate with your Ministry of Environment and other core ministries in your country. And like I mentioned before, please collect all other climate change related report that your government submitted. Check if your country submitted a national communication because this report also contains a lot of data that are also indicators from the global set. Way forward, like mentioned in the beginning, in December 22, GBS will launch their 10th Environment Statistics Compendium and their first Climate Change Statistics Compendium. We will keep participating in national, regional, and international trainings, as well as contributing to work at the global level run by UNSD with support from the EGAS, such as the Global Consultation on Climate Change Statistics in 2021, as well as contributing to the implementation of the global set of climate change statistics and indicators. Also, if the NSO is going to do a census or any other survey, try to add some climate change related questions in these surveys. And if you're doing an agriculture census, also try to add some questions related to the AFOLO sector, forestry sector or agriculture sector. Most importantly, minimize the gap between environment policy and statistics and focus on strengthening the existing collaboration between the GBS and the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment and other environmental stakeholders. Thank you very much. This was my presentation.